Hey everyone, this is Josh Isaac here. Thanks for coming by. I'm with Pete Arnott, all the way from the UK. Thanks for being here, Pete.
Thanks for having me, Josh, in
Yeah.
sunny Scotland, yeah.
Is it sunny there? Oh boy, that's
No, not at all.
didn't think so.
It never is.
Yeah, you know what? I'm really excited for this interview because, it's been Pete emailed me. It must have been over a year ago, and I started coaching him. And yeah, something kind of cool happened. He came to me with when we were coach. We were coach. I was coaching him for a while. He came to me with an idea, something he was trying out on Amazon, and I was like, just kind of brushed it off as like, whatever. Come tell me when you're making money. I didn't really pay much attention to it. Then all of a sudden he came to me and said, "Hey, I'm making a little bit of money this month." And I was like, "Cool, come to me when you're making $1,000 a month." And then a month later he's like, "Okay, I'm at $1,000 a month." And all of a sudden I know he's at 5,000. And I was like, "Okay, well, there's something to this here." So I really wanted to share this story with the blog. So what I'd love to, with this interview, I'd love to do is dive into how Pete, is going to his story and kind of let you know who he is, and just dive into how he's ended up being able to make over $5,000 a month pretty passively. I will let him tell you kind of how much time he spends at it and stuff approximately, but $5,000 a month pretty passively on Amazon, doing Kindle books. And it's only been a few months, about half a year or so, since December that he really started doing this, or maybe even January. But anyways, I'm gonna get into Pete talking here, but main thing here is I'm looking forward to interviewing him and showing everyone how he's doing $5,000 a month passively right now. Thanks for coming on, Pete.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words. And yeah, our coaching relationship started out pretty funnily, but yeah, we won't dive into that too much. But
Yeah, just
yeah,
briefly, you sent me an email and convinced me when I was really busy to coach you. There was something in that email. Maybe we'll have to share the email copy of that at some point. But you convinced me to coach you, and it was good. It was a good opening of an awesome relationship. So I'm excited you sent that email a while back.
yeah, it was good, and that kind of started my whole. Oh, it didn't start the journey for me, but it definitely sped it up, and your help was pretty much invaluable. But
Cool, thanks, man.
yeah,
So
little about.
how'd you get started? Like, maybe let's start with, what were you doing when you first, emailed me and kind of embarked on your entrepreneur journey?
Yeah, so I just graduated university. I graduated in May, and I kind of had the itch that most people, or a lot of people have, which is I don't want to go get a graduate job. I don't want to go and be employed by somebody else and do the 9 to 5. And I'd been doing all the listening to the Mixergy interviews and listening to podcasts and reading books, and kind of decided I didn't want to get a job. I wanted to give myself a year, 2 years, try and get some stuff going. So I emailed you in September, I think, maybe September-ish, and just as you said, it was a
This
email
was
kind of
2013, right? Or was it even long before that? 2012?
2013. Wait, what are we even in just now? Yeah,
2020?
it must have been 20. We'd actually need to look at that.
Maybe it's
God,
over your.
time's flying.
Anyways, keep
Yeah.
going.
Anyway, so sent you the email, and then I was telling you I was moving to Canada and stuff because I wanted to change my environment a little bit.
Yeah.
So I moved to Canada without a visa, which in hindsight was a stupid idea, but it was all good at the same time. I was attempting to build out a software to do the sort of idea extraction that the foundation teaches. You were giving me some help in that. It wasn't going too well, and then don't know if you remember, I was attempting to do the interview site based on TED Talks.
Yeah.
That was going a little bit okay, and my cash flow situation was pretty bad at this time because I couldn't get a job having no visa, and I wasn't making any money online. And I got an email out that was, can't remember who sent it. It was an internet marketer basically talking about Amazon and the opportunity and how much money could be made and all the usual stuff. So I thought, what have I got to lose? I might as well dive into this and go for it.
Yeah.
So started messing about on Amazon, looking into the marketplace, and I published a book. So I gave myself a week to just sit down and obsessively push out content until I had a book. It's about 8,000 words, 9,000 words long. Published it, and that's the first time I ever made money online. It was only like a couple of dollars,
Yeah. And that's
but
probably when
because
you
I'm
messaged me. You're like, I made a few dollars or something.
yeah, which was
And I
exciting
was
at the
like,
time.
whatever. Come tell me to make some money. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you kind of that was a little bit disheartening because I was like, oh my god, I made money, and you were like, whatever. And then I think it was like 6 weeks later, I was like, dude, like $1,000 coming in just now, and you're
Yeah.
like, all right, might want to start paying attention to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, since then it's just been exciting. I mean, published multiple books and 13 times #1
Oh
bestseller,
wow.
so that's kind of fun. None of the books are under my own name, so I'm completely separated from every single book that I do.
Okay.
Kind of like the wizard behind the scenes
Hmm.
playing. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to dive in and share my
Cool.
process with everybody. Don't know if you want a little bit more about me and my story, or if you want to just dive into.
Yeah, no, there's a lot there. So yeah, I have some questions and we can kind of like ease our way into it. So why, I mean, first things first, you said that Amazon was really appealing to you. Why do you think Amazon was such a good opportunity? What was it about it?
There's a couple of things there, and I think the main one, well, a couple of main points. The size of Amazon is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like the amount of money they do is this year's projected to be 100 billion. So I mean, you can see how large a market is. They do, as you know, they started out with books,
So
and
the people are going to be purchasing $100 billion worth of product off
yeah,
Amazon. Okay. Yeah.
which is stupid. Secondly, Amazon and Jeff Bezos aren't actually bothered about being profitable. They want to just build as big a marketplace and own the whole marketplace. And a huge part of that is books. I mean, that's how Amazon started,
Okay.
and the whole marketplace is moving towards ebooks.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that excited me about it. Secondly, was it's a buyer's marketplace. People are only on Amazon to buy stuff. You don't go to Amazon to check something.
Yeah.
You go to
Yeah.
Google to check something. Amazon is you go to buy. So you've already there's almost no barrier to make somebody buy something of yours because they are there to buy. The psychology is they are on Amazon to buy.
Mm-hmm.
You add in that they've got the patent on one click purchasing,
Mm-hmm.
and it just makes sales very easy.
Mm-hmm.
What else I like about it, and what else got me excited? Again, no barrier to entry. You can, if you have content, you can publish it, and it doesn't cost you a penny.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon take a slight cut, but there's no $50 a month service charge, no $1,000 a month service charge. It's all available, open source for free.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea that I could spend a week and just write a book about something I thought might sell well,
Mm-hmm.
and all that I would lose is a week of my time. But on the upside, I might start making money, and I did start making money. Again, it was only a few bucks at a time, but
Mm-hmm.
it got me excited enough to kind of think, okay, if I can do a few dollars a day, and I mean, this is how low scale I was looking at the beginning. I was like, if I can do a few dollars a day, and I can have 10 books all doing that, I can start to get out of some of the debt that I've accumulated. I can start to pay off my credit card bills. I can use this to cash flow the other businesses I want to build.
Yeah.
And it was all, that's kind of what got me excited about it. And obviously, once I saw the money coming in was more than I expected, it made me want to just dive into it head first and do it all.
When was that point? Like when you saw how much do you see coming in? Where you're like, holy crap! Like I got to really dive in.
It was just before I made that $1,000, so I still vividly remember it. I was in my buddy's apartment, and I still remember I was sitting with my hood up. We'd been out the night before, so I'd had a few beers, and I looked at my account. It said something, I can't remember exactly. It was like 966, and I kind of turned to all my buddies and was like, "Oh, I'm about to make $1,000," and they'd all kind of been like, "Why are you publishing books? Like, you're not going to make any money doing this, blah blah blah." And then I just remember their faces and my face when I said like I'm about to make $1,000 this month, and they were like, "All right, maybe we should start listening to what he's doing." And yeah, when I got to that, I was like, "Okay, I'm giving up the interview site I'm attempting to build.
Yeah.
I'm giving up the cold calling, giving it all up, and I'm just going to dive in head first." So yeah, that's when I decided to step it up a little bit, and that'd have been mid-January. It must have been.
Cool. So you started making $1,000 a month about like 6 weeks after you even started, basically. How many books did you have published at that point?
Ooh, at that point, I'd say it was less than 20 because I've still only got 25. So it was probably, actually, it was 6 or 7 because I set myself the goal of one book per week, and that's what I'll hit no matter what.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'd need to double check. I mean, I could go back and look at the numbers, but yeah, it's 6 or 7 it would have been because I set that goal of 1 book per week, and sometimes I got a little bit more, so I might have got a book and a half, something, but yeah, not many at all.
So when you started, so you're saying around each book was doing around $150 a month when you started, if my math's right.
Yeah, like some of them were bringing in more, so 1 or 2 might have been like 300, and other ones might have been, and because of the nature of it, which we can dive into later, your books have, or some books will have these sort of flash in the pan success, I call them.
Yeah.
Where it might only be popular for a week before it starts to slow off and not sell as much. But during that week, you might make 250, 300 bucks before it then tapers off and only makes 20 or 30 bucks a week. And we can dive into all that later. But
sure.
It's never going to be a split if you have 10 books, and they're not all going to make the exact same amount per month. Some of them are going to be more popular, and some are going to make more money.
So now you're doing, fast forward, 6-7 months later, and you're doing over 5,000 a month with only 25 books. Mm-hmm. So you became like a lot more. It sounds like you became a lot more better at research and like getting the right books out there to sell.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first book I did was men's health. That's a good topic. I know it makes money. Here's a book, and I just did a book on men's health. Like, there was no in-depth research behind it. It was kind of intuitively, I think this will work. And since then, I've been sort of locking down exactly what I do. And now it's a step-by-step thing I do every single time. It's completely repeatable. And yeah, still looking back, I don't know if it was luck or what that got that first book making money, or I just happened to pick a good niche. But if I look back, I can kind of see what I was doing. And I mean, targeting men's health and fitness was a good idea in the beginning because it's an internet marketing niche that always makes money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely in the last few months locked down exactly what I do and got it.
Cool.
Not to an exact science, but to a very high degree, I would say.
Yeah, cool. That's a perfect segue. I bet everyone's kind of biting at the bit to hear like a bit of that process. So yeah. Unless there's something else you want to say first, like how about take us briefly kind of through the process of what you do to release I guess most of your books are bestsellers, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So take us through that process.
Yeah. So mainly what I do is I call it reverse engineering the bestsellers list, and this comes back to the point I mentioned near the top of the interview. Amazon's a buyer's marketplace, so it's completely different from Google, where you do keyword research to find out what people are searching for. Amazon, the bestseller list is what people are buying. So
that's a really good point.
That's like just the biggest asset there, because if somebody's buying, what people are buying, so all you have to do is go in and emulate what people are doing, do it better, add a little bit of a twist onto it, and just apply some sort of copywriting and marketing techniques to it, and you can then edge out these other books. But that's like a 30,000 foot perspective of it. Step by step, what I do is I go into Amazon, and you just go to the Kindle store, and within that you'll see the bestseller list. But you don't just want to look at the top 100 books, you want to look into the categories, and then there's subcategories. So let's stick with men's health. Yeah. So you want to niche it down, and you've got to be careful doing that because you don't want to go too niche, because then you don't have enough eyeballs. You want to kind of hit the sweet spot, which is good opportunity, lots of eyeballs, and a niche that you can make money in. So you don't want to go into, off the top of my head, how to make a table is not most likely going to be a hot selling topic, because not too many people want to know how to build a table. But if it's how to get a six-pack or how to get a date with a girl, all that stuff's popular, so they sell. But anyway, what I do, go into the Amazon bestseller list, and I look for patterns, and if I can find a pattern, that tells me that there's lots of people who want more information on this topic. And once I do that, I just kind of dive in, do a little bit more research, do some keywords, find out what the marketplace wants. And there's a couple of techniques for that where you actually get what people want. They tell you what to add to your book. And then you just make a book. You just get a book ghostwritten by somebody and you publish it. It's as simple as that, and we can go much deeper into it.
Yeah. So I just want to just kind of get myself and everyone up to speed. So you're basically going to Amazon, going to the Kindle store, which is in a drop-down menu, going to the best sellers within the Kindle store, and then from there you're gonna go niche. So you're gonna go down to categories. So you might go health and fitness or whatever that category is, and then men's health or like
so I'll give you an actual, to make it easier for people to understand, I'll go step by step exactly what to do. So go to the Kindle store like you said, and you go down the left hand side of your screen, you'll see categories, and it'll be arts and photography, business, blah blah blah. So let's go with the business example. You click business, and then what happens is another menu appears, and within the business niche you might have 15 more niches within that. So you can get more niche. So what I start to do is, and anyone can do this, what I start to do is look amongst these best sellers to see if I can see a pattern come up again and again. So if I see the topic of small talk come up, and I see within business communication there's 4 or 5 books on small talk, what you then do is you open new tabs for all these books, because that's like a potential hot topic. Because again, it comes back to being a buyer's marketplace. If there's 5 books on small talk, they're buying, so you know there's a chance that you can compete with these people, a very high chance, plus the fact that you're going to do it better means... Anyway, so I open all the tabs up, and then you want to make sure there's money in the market. You don't want to go into a niche that's got no money. So if you go down on each page for the description of the book, you can see that it actually tells you its position in the store. So it tells you, out of all the millions of Kindle books, exactly where this book is. So if you see it's at 1 million, you obviously think it's not selling well. But if you see 5 or 6 books on this one topic that are all top 10,000, top 20,000, top 30,000, you know that they're all selling well. So then I would call that like a validated topic. After that, what I do is I go in and I would do sort of cast a wider net of research, because I want to make sure the marketplace isn't swamped with 2,000 books I'm going to compete against. I want to find a couple of 100 books that's my competition. And the thing is, within that, it's going to be the classic 80-20 split. There's only going to be a small number of the books that do well. So then what I do is I leverage those books that are selling well, and you do that with keyword research and category targeting, a couple of other things.
How do you keyword research in Amazon?
The search bar tells you. So a couple of ways you can do it. You can go to the search bar and just start typing the same way that Google pops up. If you type in how to, it starts auto-suggesting things for you. That's based, the order that they are listed is based in terms of how much they're searched for. So if you type in how to, and most likely fat loss is going to come up or something like that. The top search term is the one that's searched for the most. Second way you do it is I leverage other books, because people are going to be searching for them. So if you use their titles and you break down their title into every single word, you can then look for patterns again within titles of books. And what that means is you can sort of take away some of the power of that book by applying it to your own. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're saying you're basically, I'll just try and repeat what I heard. So basically, analyzing the titles of the bestseller books, so you know what's really working for, like, because people are gonna buy a lot. You know, I'd assume there's a high percentage of how would I say it? You know, when people look at it, people are gonna buy a lot off the title, right? I mean, they see a title that if that intrigues them,
it's one of the keys.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the study that was done. This was years and years ago, but and this was in direct mail books. I don't know if you've heard of this study. One guy, he was a publisher of hundreds of books. One book wasn't selling at all. He didn't change anything but the title. His book became one of the best sellers, like, just because people buying the title. It's a sad realization as well that a lot of people won't actually read your book once they buy it. They'll just buy it because it's these low-cost impulse buys.
Yeah.
But yeah, title is so important, and that comes down to copywriting techniques as well, because it's the same as a blog post that's got an awesome title is going to make you want to click it. It's the same sort of concept, and you want to also, you have to understand, people have a limited, what's the word I'm looking for? Limited time, let's just say that. They don't want to buy a book that the title doesn't tell them exactly what they're getting.
Yeah.
They want to read the title and know, okay, this book is going to deliver X, Y, and Z to me.
Yeah.
So they don't want to see you don't want to have a book with a funny title or something slightly misleading or something
vague,
nothing that's open to interpretation. You want it to be title and subtitle telling you exactly what's in the book, basically the benefits and the value of the book.
So what would it like? So like, let's give an example in a small talk thing. So like, a vague title might be like, let's talk about, or let's learn about small talk, or something like stupid like that, right? Like just something. Yeah,
good title.
Yeah, great title, right? What would your title, like, not knowing like niche much, like what would an example of like a really good title be like there that's copy, the principle?
Okay, so it might be, let's keep it simple, and this is most likely going to sound awful coming off the tip of my tongue, but it might be how to make better small talk. So within the main part of the title, they know exactly what the overall topic is, and then in the subtitle, you might go in and give them some benefits, like effortlessly learn small talk within 2 days that you can use to increase your social stature, increase your confidence, get a new job, things like that. And basically and this all comes down to the keyword research and the market research.
And I'm assuming you could also find like what people want in like the reviews of the other book, right? So if they're saying like, this book really helped me learn
one of the techniques.
Yeah, increase my confidence with girls or whatever is from learning small talk, you put that in there,
Yeah, and that's one of the techniques I do as well, so you can do that. And the great thing about that as well is you go in, you look at the reviews, and you've got these 1 and 2 star ones, and they tell you what the book was bad for, and then all you do is do the opposite of what those people want. So if everyone's saying that this book was awful because it wasn't well formatted and it didn't give any specific tips and it didn't give me any new value, you can just use all that within your new book, where you can actually market yours on Amazon, which is just in the description as having step-by-step tips and things like that. So it tells you exactly what to do.
That's cool.
It's powerful when you do it because it's just giving the market what they want.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. Wow. And if there's more you want to say say it, but I wanted to say the coolest thing I think about this process is that once you do that research and you find the book, and you'll probably create an outline, of what the table of contents would be and what's going to be in the book, but then you don't actually write them yourself. I mean, what do you do? Like, what do you do from here?
Well, going back when I started, I did write them myself, but that's because I couldn't justify putting more debt on my credit card in the off chance this would work, because again, I wasn't confident with it.
Yeah.
I obviously don't do that now because it's time intensive and it's mentally exhausting. It's awful doing it. But yeah, what I do now is I hire ghostwriters, and you do that by same way you can outsource almost anything these days, which I love. So negotiate with them to get very low costs. They have to sign a non-disclosure agreement so that A, they can't say that they wrote the book, and B, you own every single part of it, which means that once you do this one uptime small payment, and it can be, I mean, I've got books that cost me less than $15 to get produced. Wow. I know, it's awesome. So you give them an outline, and again, the title kind of tells you it all, but you also give them an outline saying, I want you to include X, Y, and Z, and make sure you don't do A, B, and C, and A, B, C might be what you saw, all these haters on Amazon saying this book was awful because of that. So yeah, give them an outline, they put the book together, they do all the research, all that, and they deliver it back to you, and you make sure it's good. And it's part of the non-disclosure agreement is that they get paid when the work is up to quality, which kind of limits the potential for the book to be awful. So it kind of guarantees that you're always going to get good content every time.
And that must work because you're saying, so I know from, I think you said your first book was like 8,000 words, but typically your books are between probably 5,000 and 10,000 words, right? So it's basically like a small university paper. So it's not like huge books that you're producing here.
No, not at all, and I would never suggest doing that, and here's why. Couple of points. You want to lower your risk as much as possible doing this. You don't want to go and hire somebody you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars potentially getting a book produced that you think might do well, but you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that later on when you start to build an audience, and we can get into how you build an audience and expert status in any niche if you want. Okay. But yeah, my shortest book is 3,000 words long, which is very short. I mean, that's blog posts are sometimes longer than that.
Yeah.
But as long as you go in saying that the book's not going to be the longest book ever, there's ways that you can position it so that people don't expect to get this manual. They just get a short value add. And
probably comes with a price point too. You're putting your books at as well, right?
Yeah, comes with a price point, and also comes with a psychology of what people want on Kindle. They are buying lower cost books, so they don't want these hugely long encyclopedias. They just want the value that's in the title, and because it's non-fiction, why would you want to read something over the course of a week when you could read a book in 2 hours and get the same value? Do you know what I mean? You want to just give them value. It's all about just giving them the value they want.
Yeah.
And Kindle buyers are happy with that, and it comes from the lower price point between sort of $4 and $5, sometimes as low as $3.
Yeah.
They don't want a long book. Simple as that. They want a short book that gives them the value, and they're happy to get it as well.
Yeah. Cool. And then Amazon, so your books are between $4 and $5, sometimes $3. What does Amazon pay you out of that? Or what do they take?
70%.
Yeah,
so they
really
take a 30. Yeah, it's really high. So they take a 35% cut, which is fine. And the great thing is that what I do doesn't require any blogging, outside marketing. You don't have to have an audience. You don't have to have any expertise or skill or anything. It's just all contained within this little world of Amazon, and that's what you want as well, because Amazon, they have more information on you than you could imagine, just because we all buy so much on Amazon. They've got all our search history, and they're very good at targeting because they want to make money. So it's actually in their interest for you to sell your book.
That's really cool. So I mean, there's a lot here, and I'm sure we could talk a lot more about like building a back-end list and how to really get these writers and all that stuff. I mean, this interview could be really long, but I think that what I really want to go over is just your process for getting a book and how, and I think you did that really well. The other thing I want to know first, how old are you again?
25.
25. So
it's the baby face.
Yeah. So the coolest thing I think that happened here is in the matter of like really testing this thing out since December, you've essentially just started a $60,000 to $70,000 a year job, which most career people sometimes don't even make that much, and you do that. And how many hours a day approximately are you working on this?
It's tough for me to quantify because I've never actually sat down and quantified it, but in terms of actually getting new books out, 90 minutes I would say, because I'm just now not focused on a growth stage.
Okay.
I'm focused on maintaining. I'm going back through the backlog of my books and tweaking mistakes that I made the first time around. So basically trying to optimize each book. So that's mostly what I do. I mean, it's tough for me to quantify though, but I basically use this to kind of...
3 hours a day.
And I'm pretty laid back about it just because it's not exactly work. Although it technically is work. I enjoy what I do, and I've got another couple of businesses on the go just now that I'm using the Kindle to cash flow, which is kind of the most important thing, I think. Just the fact that this has allowed me to free up all my time to do other things. I mean, yeah, it's exciting.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, I think that's what this could be really good for some people is like if you can really apply the principles here that you used and just create this as a bit of a cash flow business. I mean, because if you can make even 2,000 a month for a few hours a day, I mean that's a good chunk of cash just to be coming in. But if you can get up to I know people if you can get up to 5,000, I know that there's people doing even more than that out there as well on Kindle.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
like that's really really cool. So yeah, I really
Yeah, it's
appreciate you
exciting
sharing.
because if you do want to build a full business out of it as well, you can, and we can get into that as well if you want. It's about building an email list, and
Yeah.
you can, if you know how, build an email list. But when you sell your books, although Amazon doesn't give out the information, you can do it.
Yeah, well, I've
So I mean,
heard
there's
and
all
I've,
the
I've heard Amazon. Amazon buyers is a very very good email list to have because I mean I just heard it's a very very good you can do a lot of stuff with it. I know we don't think we ought to get into that all this call, but yeah, you go ahead.
yeah, we won't get into it all, but it comes down to establishing yourself as an expert in any niche. So say you want to go into, say you find out yoga is a hot topic,
Yeah.
go into that, you can actually build out a whole back end business. And if people don't know what the back end is, we can talk about that a little bit. But you can build out a whole back end because you have an email list. And once you have an email list, I mean, there's that famous quote. I might be getting it wrong, but my email list is my ATM. And it was I can't remember which internet marketer said that, but basically, if you have an email list, I mean, you can sell a lot to them, and especially you can sell your new books to them as well, which is hugely powerful because it means you've now got a you've got another marketing channel that takes no time to do. It's one email that you use MailChimp or Aweber for, and you can send a ton of people to your book as well as Amazon sending people to your book as well.
Cool, man. That's really cool. So I have a few other questions, but just I want to kind of recap briefly again because I know this comes like second hand in nature to you, but this is new for everyone. So basically, what we talked about so far is you built your $5,000 a month business in just over half a year on Kindle, and you're basically, if I understood it right, you're going into Amazon, going to Kindle store, going to bestsellers, going to a category, so say home and garden, or no, not home and garden, men's fitness, whatever there is there, and then you're going to go to a subcategory and then look for within that niche and look for the top, because you're going to then be at the 100 top paid
Yeah.
page, and you're going to look for the trends in there. So if you find small talk that was come up 5 times in the top 50 or whatever, then that's a hot selling item. You're going to look into that. You're going to look at where each book ranks in the top sellers. So if they're ranked at 20,000 in the paid store, it's actually really, really good ranking. So if they're all kind of between 1 and 50,000 in the paid store, then you look like you have a pretty good niche. Then you can start doing keyword research and get a good title and write a table of contents out, and then you're going to outsource that to your writer. So generally, that's a high level view of what you talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, and a couple of things we didn't even mention as well, or I didn't mention, is you have to remember as well, once you have that one book done, that's an asset you've got forever. And assets can be manipulated to always be selling. So it means that once you have one book done, it's not as if you have that book disappears. It's going to be there always, and you can launch it again. And a couple of little tips I can share about that if we want. But yeah, you never lose books, and every book that you publish, they all compound, so that the more books you have, the more powerful your system is, and the more Amazon actually does the work for you, which is part of what I do. And yeah, I mean, we don't need to dive into that because it's more sort of high level stuff, but what you said is the basic process of what I do. And
no, it's good. I like let's keep it like really actionable, because when we do too many things, and it's just going to get like a
I don't want to
blur
give too much information.
So it's very actionable. Okay, so and the last kind of questions I like to ask in interviews is well, first off with this, like, it sounds really easy, but what do you think some of the roadblocks and challenges someone could come? Because nothing's an easy success. You've obviously had to do a lot of work. You obviously weren't working just like an hour or two a day when you started
No.
this. So what are, if someone wants to start with this, what are some of the roadblocks or kind of sticking points they might experience, and how do you think they can get through them?
Okay, so from what I've seen, biggest thing is actually the mental game in terms of not being a perfectionist. Books have a sort of place in this world where people tend to get very personal about their books, especially if they're publishing it, even though their name's not going to be attached to it. And what I see is people get too caught up in their own book, and it stops them taking action. And I don't know if that's something they would do in any business, or it's just because it's books. People get too caught up in it, so they don't take action, and it's like anything, you need to take action to be successful. So what happens when they get caught up in these books and they get too into making it perfect? I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly. It seems to me they're basically scared to actually just publish the book because they feel it's some sort of a representation of themselves. And that's the biggest thing I see holding people back, because it's not simple to do, but the business model as a whole is actually quite simple. You just need to put out content, and people seem to forget as well that once the content's out, although it's going to be online forever, you can edit it, and Amazon allows you to edit books and change titles and covers, and you can basically almost within real time, there's a few hour delay, but you can actually change content. So even if you do get a bad review, you can go back and change it. But people seem to forget that, so they never actually launch a book, and they might have these books sitting there that they never launch, whereas if they just put them online, they could start building this little publishing empire themselves. That's honestly, I know it's not the best answer saying that it's the mindset, but it hugely is. It's almost as if people just need a push to do it.
Yeah.
Second thing I see is finding ghostwriters who are willing to work for a low cost, and that comes down to negotiating with them and giving them what they want, so they're willing to come to a cost that you're happy with, and it's always under the $100. I never publish a book that's going to cost more than that. And I would say the third thing, looking for the perfect niche, and again that comes down to similar to the first point, they want to be perfectionists, and it's a tough thing to get over, not being a perfectionist. We've all got a little bit of that in ourselves, so people spend hours and hours attempting to find the perfect niche to go into when it doesn't exist. All you're looking for is, like that small talk example, that's a good example, but it's not the perfect niche. There is no perfect niche. There's never a perfect niche. But people spend all their time analysing, so they might have 10 topics which would all get the go-ahead. If they asked me, I would say, go with them. They sound good. They fit the criteria, but they look for this one perfect niche. And again, I think that comes down to books being sort of almost tied into who you are as a person.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common with any business people start. Is it's easier to keep researching and reading rather than just taking action, because if you take action on something, you may screw it up, right? So I think that's pretty common. So yeah, that's really good advice.
But when it comes down to it again as well, the books are not connected to you.
Yeah.
Nobody knows your name's attached to them, so it shouldn't actually hold people back, and they need to think about that. You just use a pen name.
Yeah, which is a good point. But I would also say on that too, I think you're really big on this, I know, but like every book you release, you want to make sure that it's really good, valuable content, because if you don't, if you put up crap content, you're not going to sell anyways. You're not doing the world any better, right? So
you're not doing the world any favors, and you're not doing yourself any favors. From a selfless and a selfish point, there's no benefit. I mean, okay, you can maybe publish a book and the title's good, so you get a bunch of downloads from that, you make some money, but then your book's just going to fail into obscurity. It makes so much more sense to just do a little bit of hard work at the beginning so that you've got a good ghostwriter, your content's good, and then you publish it, and the same thing happens. You make money when it has that sort of flash in the pan success, and then it levels out and it stays consistent for a long period of time. There's no point in doing bad content, and that comes down to everything in life. I mean, what's the point in doing something if
Totally.
it's going to be poor quality.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Cool. So let's wrap up. I'd like to wrap up the story kind of like just with what we talked about in the beginning, of you kind of starting this thing and now kind of being where you're at, basically kind of freeing yourself financially and everything. So like, just briefly, like how has your life changed over these last maybe year or 6 months now, that you really have allowed yourself to become, in our society financially free with this Kindle thing. So how's your life changed?
It's changed in a lot of ways. So I'm much happier because I don't have the. It was tough for me when I graduated and went to Canada because I'm back in Scotland now, as we mentioned. But at that time, and everyone when they graduate university wants to go and get a job as quickly as possible. Whereas I was doing the opposite because I didn't want to get a job. So at the time when I was in debt, I was seeing people post on Facebook all the time. Facebook, like, oh, just got this job with XYZ company, and like, I know what the starting salaries are for these jobs, and I was just thinking, have I made the right decision, blah, 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 and thinking this is awful. At the time, I managed to pick up a couple of shifts, like, without a visa, sort of illegally, washing dishes. So having gone from, I graduated as one of the top of my class, to then washing dishes in an Italian restaurant was kind of depressing as well, and there's always the whole fear that you've let your mum and dad down.
Yeah.
And since since then, like, everything's just seemed to go positively now, and making good money. I'm location independent, which means, I've been able to work in Canada, New York, and Chicago so far, as well as London and Scotland, which is awesome. I've got other businesses that are getting set up, and I think that comes from being successful in one area tends to lead you to be successful in the other. People also kind of see you as, okay, this might be a high value person, and the Kindle stuff allows me to focus on other things, and whatever business that is, it allows me to it basically pays me to spend my time doing other stuff, which is going to then in the future pay me more, which is kind of fun. And yeah, I think that's kind of the main way my life's changed. Nothing huge, just kind of mindset stuff.
Cool, man. That's really cool. I hope I'm sure you've inspired a lot of people with this here too, and yeah, it's exciting. And I can tell from personal experience. Like, you're an insanely hardworking guy and very knowledgeable, and I know you helped a lot of people too. So it's cool to be alongside you here. So thanks for doing this, man. I'm sure there's lots of questions people will probably have. What let's maybe do now is, you'd like to give them access to you if they have questions, right? So
if anyone has questions, feel they can email me. You can put my email in the bottom of the either email or blog post that this is going out on. Happy to speak to people one-to-one.
Okay.
It helped me a huge amount, especially connecting with you. If I take it there's a comment section on the bottom of your blog.
Yeah.
If anyone's got any questions, they can post them there. Just give me your top question about anything in this space, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Either tenuously business related or specific to Kindle, and I'm happy to spend some time in the comments helping everyone out.
Cool.
And I'll help any way I can because, as I said, it effectively has changed my life, being able to just connect with people over the internet.
Cool. Does that
awesome. Sound good?
That sounds great. So you answered some questions in the comment section, and that'd be awesome. And you're going to be doing a webinar at some point here, kind of diving even deeper into this. So any questions people ask in the comments, I'm sure you'll give you some stuff to go over even more in depth in the webinar if they want to let you know that. Yeah,
had a lot of sort of people ask me to share content, and happy to dive into it. So yeah, I'll do this webinar and also keep some comments on your post. But
cool.
Sounds good to me.
Cool. Thanks for coming by, Pete. Appreciate it.
Pleasure, Josh.
Peace.
Peace.